afternoon, everyone. I am Mohita, the AVP HR at uKnowva, and welcome to yet another session of Business Talks with uKnowva. Today, we are going to be discussing about the ethical practices in lateral hiring, and to discuss this topic with us, we have Rekha. Rekha, hi.
Hi, good afternoon.
Let me just introduce Rekha very quickly. She is an accomplished HR professional with over 2 decades of experience. She has a master's in business law from the National Law School of India, and she specializes in strategic HRM, OD, talent management, and more. Beyond her impressive career, she is a passionate singer, gardener, with a focus on medicinal plants and poet collector. So, Rekha, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in today's podcast.
Thank you, Mohita. That was a very quick and complete introduction to me. I didn't know that, I could introduce myself in 2 minutes.
So we try.
It's my pleasure to be talking on the topic that we are going to discuss today, because this is something that I think all of us keep going like a pendulum, no? Correct, not correct, correct, not correct. And that happens because of our convenience. Whenever we need it, we feel it's correct. When somebody else does it, we feel it's not correct.
No, I completely agree, and especially with two giant silicon companies in bitter battle over lateral hiring and how it affects their businesses. A ton of periodicals and newspapers chiming in with their own opinions. I'm sure it's not just the HR fraternity which is a little, confused right now. I'm sure even the candidates are feeling just as confused. And we thought this is the right opportunity to talk about this topic, given what is happening around us with Toy saying, the Times of India saying that lateral hiring is to remain conservative, whereas leading HR periodicals chiming in and saying that opportunities for lateral hiring are immense. And I'm sure amidst all of this, with all the experts chiming in, the candidates are just confused as to, how do they traverse through this entire rigmarole of lateral hiring and whether it will affect their own career if they do accept an offer that comes via lateral hiring. So we thought that this would be the best time to get to know more about it from someone who actually specializes in lateral hiring. So thank you so much for joining us. So jumping very quickly ahead, my first question to you is, especially given the current scenario where there's this one giant company saying lateral hiring is not ethical and we've been training them and we're just affecting our business and so on. How would you define ethical practices in the context of lateral hiring?
See, being an HR person and being a person who was associated with a lot of companies, startups, SMEs, and companies which began, I have drafted hundreds of letters. I have issued a few thousands of letters, probably. And whenever we make a letter, we feel very smart when we say, oh, I have added my non-compete, I have added my non-solicitation. And whenever you talk, and me also being legally qualified, I've understood this, that whenever you talk about a legality, a law, a procedure, a policy that is that comes into place, people always try to work a way around it rather than following it. And they think the smartness lies in circumventing what is there rather than accepting it. So that having been said, I would like to say that when we talk about the talent pool, particularly in the tech space, because the maximum number of people that get hired through lateral hiring is more from the tech space. Now, let us understand this, that I always say that E is equal to MC square. Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. Now, if I
Right.
want a person with 20 years of experience, let us say, I can't create him overnight, right? So obviously, I'll be getting him from somewhere. And the moment I hire him, sorry, there is a opening created in that company, which means that that company will go and hire from somewhere else. And
Correct.
now all of us here in business today are here to make profits and make our business successful, viable, profitable, etc. So we don't have the time. Whenever I get a requirement from people, or whenever I talk to project managers or delivery heads, they say the requirement was as of yesterday. So we don't have the time to wait to get somebody to train him, to teach him. So what happens is the easiest way out is to hire from competition. And when you are doing that, uh, this has been happening for years now. There again, you need to maintain a certain, what should I say, code of conduct, if I can call it that, and live by a certain culture. And that's what is your ethics that you're talking about. And that's what we are discussing today. So
Right.
we can always hire people from some other company as long as you're doing it the right way and not doing it on the sly or trying to uh, get somebody unethically.
Right, sure. I get where you're coming from. I mean, a lot of companies have non-compete clauses, but there are also a lot of way to go around those non-compete clauses, as I'm sure you know. So, can you share some common challenges organizations face in maintaining ethical practices during lateral hiring?
Typically, what happens when you're talking to candidates is you're trying to check their capability, their skills, achieving or doing something. So when you're trying to do that, during the the interview process itself that people follow has a lot of flaws. That's what
Right.
gets on or borders on unethical practices. Today, if I'm going to hire a person, let us say for a marketing head, let us say. So what happens when people are talking to candidates is they start digging deeper into what was your achievement and what did you do, how much did you achieve in the last quarter, and what do you think is the best client that you brought into the company that you're working currently, and what uh, is the technique you used to get this client, or what were the processes you applied. Now, when you start going into the details of such things, you start digging into people's uh, private secrets, job secrets, secret formulas, if I can call it that. So today, technology has improved so much. There are ways of avoiding it. And there are also people who are putting things in place like, suppose I have a product that I am working on. The company has patented it, let us say. That makes it, a clear no-no for me to speak about it.
Right.
So people every time expect a fence around them or some kind of a limitation or some kind of a harness to say, no, don't go beyond this, limit. So I per se feel that when you're dealing with seniors, particularly anybody with over 10 years of experience, or even say 7, 8 years of experience, should be mature enough to understand that in their enthusiasm to prove their mettle, or in their excitement to get into a new role, they shouldn't be talking about their company's secrets or their strategies in open. And
Right.
the onus is on both the candidate and the company. The company per se can, ask for, employ different kinds of interviewing techniques. There are a lot of today. We have lots of assessment centers that people depend on. Then you have BI techniques. So these are all some things that you can use and avoid talking numbers and facts when you're talking to people in an interview.
I get it. As a candidate, if I were to go onto an interview, it is my onus that I do not reveal numbers or data that is confidential to the organization that I'm currently working with, and it does pose a question of integrity if I do release those numbers, because then what if I go to some other company later on and do the same for your organization? And organizations need to understand this. And again, the organizations that the candidate is coming from, they can also avoid these occurrences by having NDAs, etc., which they already have in many cases. And again, the company who is employing the candidate also has the onus to ensure that they don't ask questions where the candidate is forced to give them answers which might get them into trouble with the NDAs and so on. And that's a good point to make, and because when it comes to lateral hiring, I think the major issue revolves around confidentiality as such in any case. So my next question is, say I am an organization who's hiring and I have a candidate who's coming from a competitor, and I have a candidate who's not coming from a competitor. Maybe he is from the same industry but not my immediate competitor or whatever. Now, when we do talk about hiring, if I have those two kind of candidates, I will most definitely be biased towards one who is coming directly from my competitor. I would want that candidate in my organization, but then it does again get into this whole rigmarole of, are you biased towards a candidate because he's my competitor and therefore I might learn things about my competitor, etc. So how would you, as a hiring manager or as a sourcing person, ensure that there aren't any biases when it comes to lateral hiring, or when it comes to hiring where there are cases where you might have candidates coming from your competitors as well?
See, this is something that I have learned on the job, and more so lately, because recently, when we were trying to hire for a big name, we were trying to hire people from a particular industry. And the person who gave me the requirement was looking for, his replacement kind of, in the sense that he was going to do something else or go one notch up. So he wanted somebody in his place. Now, this is another thing that a lot of companies do not plan for second line, because there is so much of an investment in it. And number one, in the sense that more than the money, the trust, because you never know when your person will be leaving. So people don't invest on, developing a second line, which used to be a very dumb thing. If you looked at companies, the Tatas and the Birlas, we all are living in the age of ready to eat kind of a mentality, if I can say that. So we want something that is readily available off the shelf for us to use. So,
Right.
which is why it makes it easier for the HR person or the hiring manager to get a person from competition, because he's been there, done that kind of a thing. And
Correct.
again, I come back to where I started from. The talent pool is limited, and the industry also is a closed industry. Whenever you're talking about different verticals, if you look at, say, energy and utilities, or you look at the pharma industry, or you look at the BFSI, you know the big names and you know your competition. So you always feel, if you get a person from your competition, you will get an edge over the other person. because
Right.
you already have your own strategies and know-how in place, and
Right.
it gets coupled with another company strategy and thing. So, which makes it, uh, the intent may not be unethical, but the process will get unethical when you're trying to get a person from your competition. And there is this bias always, and it always will be. And as an HR person, according to me, I always say that give me a person with the right attitude. So, that being said, it is not possible when you're talking about leadership. You want a person who has this and a little more. So
Right.
the JD always talks about 20, 25 skills, and you'll be very happy even if you get 15 in a person. Generally, when you're hiring for any other, lower positions and lower in the uh, organization or structure. But when you're hiring for leadership roles, you always want 30 out of 25. So,
Right.
and that you always will get from a competition is the kind of a belief all of us go with.
Sure, I kind of agree. But Rekha, do you think technology can help us in managing these biases? Technology can
Very
help
much.
us in making sure that we remain ethical to the art of recruitment or hiring that we are all trying to work on.
Exactly. See, first thing is keep your communication channels open, straightforward, and stick to your rules, processes that the industry expects you to. Number one. Number
Right.
two, interviewing techniques can get more technical, and you can. There are different. If you today, go and ask Google Baba, there are 500 different interviewing techniques. So most people are stuck with the age-old things that they were doing. We are all
Correct.
slaves of habit, and
Right.
we think what we have been doing is the best. Now, with technology growing at such a fast pace, people should start understanding and also with an intention use technology to uh, give up some of the old practices. You have, like I said, your interviewing techniques can change. Then, whenever you're talking about communication, keep it in writing. So, what you ask a candidate, it I would say, the disclaimers are in place from the beginning,
Right.
sort of a thing. And you can always employ techniques where people will get. See, the moment I'm talking in front of a camera, I'm very conscious about what I'm saying. So if I'm doing that, otherwise over a casual telephone call, probably I wouldn't be that conscious. So this is another thing that has helped people. Your Zoom calls, your Google Meets, your team meetings gets people to talk a little more seriously, a little more maturely, and responsibility.
Right.
And that is one of the things. And then when you're talking about technology again, the process itself, when it gets automated, uh, gets very smooth, and there is a very easy flow to it. And
Right.
from the beginning, what happens is people live by the rules and play by them.
Rekha, we've spoken quite a bit about how organizations can manage lateral hiring ethically. Do you have, this is my last question, do you have any tips or suggestions for candidates when they know that they are applying for a job which is a competitor of their existing organization, or they've gotten a call which at the end of the day is about lateral hiring? How should a candidate manage this entire wire fenced transition?
See, like I said, loyalty is something everybody should have. Earlier, people used to join a company and retire from there. That is the kind of loyalty they had. They would never look here, there. Today, like I said, we are living in a world where change means everything to everybody at every level. So, even if you are looking for something different and new, it's always like this. You always feel the grass is greener on the other side. It's like saying that, oh my God, my city is not as good as yours. But I come
Right.
and live in your city for 2 days, then I say, oh my God, my city is better, right? That sort of a thing. So, at least in a job, you can't do that, thinking and go
Very
back to where
often.
you started from. But then
Right.
what happens is you must be cautious about what you're saying. The first thing I tell people whenever I'm fixing an interview with a candidate with the head of a CXO level of a person, first thing I tell them is you're not still married to the new company. So be very, very, very cautious about what you say and don't talk numbers. This is the first advice I give people. Don't use pronouns. Don't talk numbers, and don't openly give away the entire strategy. This is also something that I have seen happens when people do lateral hiring. Let us say I'm hiring for a particular position, and there are four of my competitors out there. I pick one candidate from each company. Obviously,
Right.
I'm not going to take all the four, right? But I will be that much more richer with all the knowledge, the strategies, the numbers, the processes they use, the policies they employ, etc. So that's what makes it unethical at the end of the day. So
Correct.
don't in I would tell employers, don't get too excited about amassing information, and I would tell a candidate, don't be enthusiastic about giving away stuff because you don't know, because the marriage has not happened, and you're talking about your family already, who's good or who's bad, and what happens and what's your family income. We don't do that at a personal level, right? So uh, people talk about data privacy when it comes only to personal things. I think it is much more important for you to think of the same thing when you are looking out for a job. So it's when you're talking about your company, you must also have this in mind that it's as important, or it is as much a right for a company to keep their data as private as possible, like you would like to keep your own personal data private.
That was very thought provoking, Rekha. Thank you so much for this amazing session and joining us today. I would love to stay in touch with you, and we are already recording the session, so we'll be sharing the same with you soon. And to the viewers who are watching this podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope the session was as knowledgeable and exciting and fun for you and eye-opening for you as it was for us. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys the next time. Bye.